and the impact of using MSB and LSB for different bits for different parts of row decoding. We looked at that. Then we looked at NAND decoders, static decoders, dynamic decoders. We looked at the challenge of pre-decoding and how pre-decoding would lead to PPA penalty. Hmm? So what do you want in terms of pre-decoding? What happens when you use lots of pre-decoders?
Sir, more number of lines would toggle if I change the address lines. If I
Hmm.
if I use small decoders in the pre-decode.
So more number of lines will toggle. Okay. What else? Hmm.
Sir, tapping would also increase if I use smaller decoder.
Yes, in smaller pre-decoders, each pre-decoded line would be tapped at more number of row decoders. Hmm? And therefore, what happens? First, more lines are toggling, and then each line has more weight, more load on it. So what happens?
So power is consumed more in the system.
Power degrades, power consumption increases. And what improves?
So post decoder size, I believe. Uh,
पोस्ट डिकोडर साइज इंप्रूव हो जाएगा क्यों पोस्ट डिकोडर में तो नाउ वी नीड more NMOSes. Suppose we have a NAND based post decoder, now we need more NMOSes in the stack.
no, so that we have less input gate, so that is the basic thing. So circuit becomes a bit fast with regard to that. If we have
The
less input.
pre-decoding circuit will become fast.
Yes, yes.
Post decoding will become slower only.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. So, and then we moved on to the projects. Anything with the projects that bothers you? Or are all of you now clear about which topic your group would want to take, and then as soon as the window to register opens, you will be able to register? Any questions about the projects, or have the TAs been able to resolve all your queries till now?
So we were discussing yesterday with Biswa some of our concerns related to projects based on cell. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
we were concerned about like Biswa was suggesting that I mean like they may actually have layouts, like you will have to make two or three layouts based on the cases which are there in the sheet. So could you please elaborate a bit on the specification of some of the cell? I mean like there were like three or four cases per cell project. So for
Hmm.
each of the three cases, we make three layouts, right? Is that the requirement?
Yeah, but we already saw the layout of a memory cell. If there is a change in width, all you need to need is shift the devices to the left or right, and you will be able to make the new layout is right there.
Okay. Okay.
Memory cell 60 memory cell layout, there is no rocket science in it. I've already given you the entire layout. You just need to make it in Virtuoso and make it DRC LVS clean. Nahi. So no need to review the placement, nothing. Everything is given to you. I've even told you where the VRs are and where the contacts are.
Yeah,
सब
that's
कुछ
true.
तो बताया है.
So the thing is that we were actually thinking that ऐसा कोई project मिले जिसमें थोड़ा like a new चीज कुछ research kind of एक domain आ जाए. I mean like
Yeah.
इसलिए like वो चीज हम लोग sort नहीं कर पा रहे थे थोड़ा, so वहाँ उसको हम approach नहीं कर पा रहे थे उस चीज को कैसे करें.
So in the project list, there are recommendations where you could actually have a paper out there.
Exactly.
So those are typically the ones जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा research element है, where your learning will be much deeper than what we discussed in the class. And those topics are also such that if you want to publish around them, people would be happy to publish, because these are interesting topics and people want to know more about these topics. And in academia, no one has that depth of knowledge to be able to even talk about these. But in this course, we are covering things in very good depth. So you guys will still be able to contribute meaningfully to it, to the domain.
Okay, so like in the class we were discussing that cell based projects might not have much scope for publication, but in the sheet there were like most of the cell projects had a scope for publication with Wired and all.
Yeah. See, what changes is, for example, if one of you guys or one of the teams, whichever team takes up the project on, let us say, um, let us say, diagnosis, yeah, fault fault identification or something like that. So yeah, for example, such topics, then those topics are not very crowded, because what happens is people in academia are only memory, मतलब उनको memory cell ही समझ में आता है, anything else they don't even know. So they don't publish, and there is less crowd, so you can possibly publish in very good conferences because there is lesser competition. Or you can even possibly, if the results are really, really good, then you can even go target a transaction or a journal publication out of those.
From the
Where-
IO-based projects.
Periphery-based projects.
Yeah. Okay.
So, however, if you talk about memory cell everyone knows. They may not know it correctly, but everyone knows. So, because everyone knows, they want to publish something there. They 60 में उनको समझ में नहीं आता क्या करें, so they go to 70, 80, 90, 10T, 11T. You open the IEEE Explorer and you will see there is a range of cells from 40 to 40 is a good cell, but 40 to 17, 18 T cells. Okay, so nothing is used except 60 and the 8 to 80 cells. Nothing else is used in the industry. So there are publication materials. So people are kind of fed up with memory cells. So unless you really bring out something which is meaningful for a 60 memory cell, and see 60 memory cell, industry folks publish a lot of good work because they have access to silicon and experiments with silicon. So you are kind of competing in those regions. कि आप अच्छी जगह पे जाना चाहते हो, तो you are competing there. And if you are not in that good a place, then you really need to bring out something which does not distract, or which is still better than the 60 stuff published by other universities. जो कि होगा हमारा, इसलिए मैंने वो 2-3 ऑप्शंस ऐड कर दिए कि अच्छा इस स्टडी को हम हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं, इस स्टडी को हम हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं. But with the 60 cell options, you can't target transactions or journal publications. I don't think so. But with periphery things, you can think of those.
Okay.
ठीक है. So, anything else on the project front? Or things are clear?
So how are we supposed to choose the projects? First we form the groups in the sheet, or
Yeah. I am assuming you have already formed your groups
no?
that you're already discussing with your team members which project you want to take up. है ना?
So, last time you made a sheet in which we form a group, and only one of the the leader will choose the project.
So that can be done even now. So we will go to that XLS based thing only, that we will open the sheet for you to register there, and we will just put group names: group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. You can form the groups today itself. Biswa or Khalid can release a Google sheet where you can, so they will just put group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4 and so on, and you can just list down your names in front of whichever group you are in. ओके, मतलब सिक्वेंशियली भरते जाओ, जो ऊपर भरा गया, आप अपना नीचे नाम भर दो. आपके ग्रुप नंबर से थोड़ा ना आपको कोई फर्क पड़ रहा है. And then tomorrow you just the leader just puts the group name in that sheet. Is that okay? In the project sheet.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can do that the same way this time around also. Okay.
Sir, I have a doubt from previous classes.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, I had doubt between the pages and the banks. Sir, I was this thing is clear to me that when I want to break the word line so that I do not waste too much of power, then I use the concept of pages, in which I do some amount of decoding on the row side also. And this thing is clear कि pages क्या होता है, लेकिन sir the bank thing is not clear. What is bank?
Okay, so what I will tell you what I call as bank. Okay, so that because every company or every place you go, people may use a different terminology, and I don't want you to get entangled into this is always called a bank or this is not called a bank and so on. So I will tell you what I call a bank. Okay, and how I differentiate a page from a bank. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So see, for pages, is my screen visible to you? The whiteboard is visible to you?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of pages, when we said that, okay, there is this memory and I will split it into, say, let us say 4 pages. Each page has its own set of IOs, and and to implement or to choose a word, I select one of the pages to give the output. This was the page definition.
Yes.
When I use the word banks, what I'm saying is there is a common set of IOs here, at least. But there are smaller arrays inside the memory. Okay, and there is a hierarchy of bit lines. Over here, there's a hierarchy of word lines. You will select, if this page is to be selected, you will select only this word line or only this word line, whichever. Over here, there is a global bit line, but if this array is selected, this bank is selected, you will select the word lines over here, bit lines over here. Or if this one is selected, you will select the bit lines over here. So this is called as hierarchy of bit lines. So this is bank, at least I call this as bank, and this is page. Okay, and over here the hierarchy exists on the bit line side. Over here the hierarchy exists on the word line side. Both result in lower power. If the capacity expected is really huge, you will go to a mix of banks, and so every page would have banks. Okay, but if the capacity is not really huge but large, you will go to pages. If the capacity is medium large, you will go to banks. If the capacity is small, you will have a single array. No hierarchy there.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
And sir, one more thing. In the last class, we were talking about the sense amplifier. We are going in the burst mode when we are going to place the sense amplifiers in a particular way. So there we were saying we can place it like these 4 arrows that you have drawn from the page. I can also do it there also, and also that when that goes outside and I then take one of the uh, outputs, like the 4:1 mux, then also I can place. So sir, that thing where we are using the burst mode and placing the sense amplifiers
So
without.
we will review the burst mode again when we will touch DRAMs. Okay, so we will look at that again. What probably you are talking about is that if I had to apply burst mode by using by selecting only one page, then every IO had 4 sense amplifiers. Whereas when I had to select, when I could use different pages for the burst mode, I could just put one sense amplifier in every IO, and I could toggle between which page output is going at to the user.
Yes, sir.
So we can review this again in the office hours. Is that okay? Because
Yes.
otherwise we will not be able to cover the mismatch part. I think this part was discussed at length in the class last time also, so I do not want to spend more time on it. You can just review that lecture again, watch the video again, and then if needed, we can discuss it in the class again, in the office hours. Okay. Yeah, I think it was discussed in much detail in the class, so the recording should be helpful, good enough, most probably. But if the question remains, you can discuss in the office hours again. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Right.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir,
Yes,
different
Gurpreet?
pages will have different word lines, but the words of same page will have same word line, right?
A page would have one word line. So all the words in a single page will have, like in a single row, would have the same word line. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So let's go to the mismatch section then. This is one of the very exciting sections in the course. And we discussed this only in a memory design course. Probably in no other course will you ever discuss about mismatch in such detail. Do you know why? Why would you not discuss about mismatch in such detail anywhere else?
I mean, the impact of mismatch would be the highest in designing a cell, so it's critical to designing a 60. So maybe that's
Yeah, so there are two factors. One is two factors involved in the impact. So first is, why is the impact more? One reason is that there are huge number of cells that you need to qualify. If you're talking about a 1 megabit memory, there are 1 million cells. Talking about 64 megabit memory, there are 64 million cells. And then you do not talk of just 64 million cells there. You also talk of the interaction of those cells with the sense amplifiers, with the write drivers, and so on. In addition to that, if you say that मेरे 64 million cells काम करेंगे, it means out of 100 dies, only one die will have 100% yield. Or only one die will be functional. Remaining dies would have some failures existing in them. So when we talk of 64 million cells per die, and we talk of 100 dies, we are actually talking about 6.4 billion cells. And yield in those 6.4 billion cells kind of defines the chip level yield for the overall system. Are you able to see this aspect? Finally, 100 dies के ऊपर मैं yield निकालने वाला हूँ. I am going to estimate yield out of 100 dies. What is the total capacity in those 100 dies? 6.4 billion cells. If the per chip capacity is 64 megabit, no other circuit on a chip is repeated as many number of times as a memory cell. So this repetition in itself means that we have to take care of mismatch very, very carefully for memories. So you remember the concept of mismatch. We can review that again. Can you write your name 10 times on a sheet of paper? Try to make it as exactly same as possible. All of you have your notebooks? Please do that quickly. Write your name 10 times. Exactly same way. We've done this exercise in DVD also, but I just want you to repeat it so that we refresh that. So were you able to write it exactly the same way? Or were there differences between two different replicas of your name? Hello?
Mostly they were different.
So every copy is different. So what makes you think that every copy of the transistors or the memory cells that you will make on a chip will be same? Okay, you have better machining. So let us say you were to print your name. But when you are printing your name, I would ask you to print 1,000 times. Do you think 1,000 copies of your name, when I print them, even when I print them, use a machine, will be identical?
No, sir.
Why will they not be identical? What kind of variations will happen?
So maybe
Can happen.
when then ink is sprays, then maybe sometimes it can spray by more amount, by less amount. Machinery issues.
Machine issues. Some heating will happen over time. Due to heating, also the flow of ink may change. The amount of ink would change. The in the barrel would change. So the kind of pressure it puts would change. So many variables will happen. You know? So you cannot even print your name identically 1,000 times on a printer. Over here, I am saying 6.4 billion cells on every wafer. Okay, your printer is not that advanced. We have much advanced machining when we go to silicon manufacturing. That is where we are able to think of this level of integration, is it not? So I'm not saying that we do not have very good machines. We have extremely good machines. But because you're talking about large numbers, mismatch happens. And it needs to be accounted for. And with memory, these numbers actually are very, 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 very large. Are you with me?
Yes.
Sir, just to add a point here.
Yes, Anuj.
Sir, we can also say like we discussed for OPC thing where we used to make the dumbbell shape things. So we can say कि actually shape हमारा बन नहीं पाता है. So मतलब there are chances ki mismatch will happen because of the photolithography, right, sir?
Yeah. So, but okay. So we will come to that. But this kind of mismatch would be called as systematic variation. Because जहां भी आप ये डम्बल बनाना चाहोगे ये वैसा ही बनेगा. Is it not?
Right, sir.
So this is definitely a reason of variation, but there are other reasons of variation which are like कि आपने दो devices को same बनाया, बिल्कुल सब कुछ same है, लेकिन फिर भी वो same नहीं बनेंगे. And we will just look into that. That is the purpose of this class today. Okay. So one reason of high impact on SRAMs is that we have huge statistics to take care of. Second very important reason why SRAMs are or memories for that matter are hugely impacted by mismatches, that the device sizes are actually very small. So we will see just now in just a little while that when the device sizes are small, the impact of mismatch or the probability of variations increases multifold. Okay, so both these things coming together imply that our overall mismatch related verifications need to be extremely robust. Okay, we have to design mismatch robustness into our designs. And that is why this lecture. Is this okay? Any doubt till here? Because unless the motivation is clear why we are talking about what we are going to talk about today, and this is one of the most important things in this course, because no other course will ever talk about mismatch. आगे बढ़े? Any questions till now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is actually a tutorial that was given in DAC 2006. I will share with you the full tutorial so that you can review it and use it at your leisure. But I will give you quick glimpses of the most important sources of mismatch and aspects of mismatch in today's class. Okay. So as we just discussed, there are two types of mismatch: random mismatch and systematic mismatch. Systematic mismatch is something like, you remember we talked about well proximity effect on that day when we were talking about row decoders, where
Yes,
we
sir.
said that your distance from the edge of the n-well can lead to change in your VT. Then there are things like this dumbbell shaped thing, OPC thing that we talked about, that Anuj just mentioned, that we know that due to lithography, this dumbbell will not be formed actually like a dumbbell. We will have some other shape coming up, or when I want to make a rectangle, they will be rounding at the edges. So things like this. In DVD, we also talked about this concept of dishing, where we said that if there are very wide wires, then due to CMP process, dishing will happen. And therefore we said we will put pillars, dielectric pillars in between, or slots in between. So these are systematic variations which will anyways happen and which you can model. And since you can model them, the technology teams typically try to include them in the device models itself. That as soon as you do a post layout extraction, they know these kind of variations will happen, and they will give you capacitances and resistances by including the effects of all these proximity effects. Okay, but there is another kind of variations which are random, which are fundamental fluctuations which happen from instance to instance. These are called local variations. They happen because of multiple reasons. We will look into them. But this is the most important thing to understand with mismatch, that there are two kinds of variation: random and systematic. Systematic variations can still be handled by the technology team in the sense that they can model it, and you as designers can see the impact of these systematic variations on your circuit performance, even in single simulation. Random mismatch or random variations are such that two instances, very symmetrical instances placed right next to each other, can also have those variations. So it's not easy to model them in a single simulation, and you will need advanced tools like Monte Carlo methods or design of experiments methods to understand them. Okay, so this is exactly what Anuj was saying, that we want to make a a layout like this, but on silicon it will become like this. So what happens? We know that we wanted the length to be something, but on silicon we actually get some different size of the length. So what happens? There could be a change in effective width from what you had targeted. So what do? You first improve the process, basically do better OPC, optical proximity correction, resolution enhancement techniques, all that. You do that. You make better models. You do layout corrections. So there are multiple things that the technology team does. Essentially, a better model, better process, and if both don't work, they say, okay, I cannot allow this kind of a proximity between active and poly. So relax the rules. So how this is done is, okay, there are simulators which would take your layout and simulate them and estimate what kind of failures can happen or what kind of variations can happen. For example, when you have this kind of a bend coming up, you will see something like necking over there. You had made a hammerhead shape over here so that there is a sufficient landing pad, but this may also lead to spoiling of some stuff later. Okay, so are you able to see this? These kind of variations will naturally happen on silicon, but they can be modeled. Is this clear?
Sir, सर यू जस्ट मेंशन दिस रूल रिलैक्सेशन थिंग. तो सर अभी हमने मतलब इसमें तो हम डीआरसी के बहुत सारे वायलेशंस करते हैं, तो वो भी एक तरह का रूल रिलैक्सेशन है?
No. Rule relaxation means instead of saying that your two shapes can be as close as 10 nanometers, because you're not able to handle the variations or you're not able to control the process, you say no. 10 nanometers is no longer possible. We will want to go to 12 nanometers, and you have to relay out everything. And it happens. I do not even remember how many times we've had to make layouts of memories over and over again, just because technology, even though they anticipated we will be able to handle this rule safely as the process matures, they were not able to handle. So we made the first layout with an aggressive rule, and then we redesigned the layout because there were yield issues coming because of technology not able to handle such structures. That is what I meant by rule relaxation.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that is what I mean when I say rule relaxation in the previous slide. When we talked about the memory cell layout, where we say that, okay, for memory cell only, we would have some extra or new relaxed rules. Over there, we meant more aggressive rules for only memories. But when I say rule relaxation over here, that means that the spacing that is required between different objects has been increased, just to leave more margins there. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So this kind of variations due to lithography, for example, can be easily modeled. They can be simulated. There are optical simulators, you can simulate them, and then you can model your variations into your design itself. Okay. Variations like proximity effects, for example, when you have a sparse arrangement of devices. So this is an inverter. You're able to see this. This is an inverter. So this is one inverter, and these are 3 inverters on the other side. So due to dense inverter structure over here, the kind of stress that STI puts on the first inverter is very different from the kind of stress it puts on the dense configuration. And as a consequence, mobility changes. And here is the kind of impact you will see on timing characteristics for 2 different configurations. A dense configuration will have the blue curve, and a sparse configuration, because mobility has changed in a very different way, will have the dotted red curve. Again, this is something you can anticipate. So you can model it, and it is actually modeled as stress effects. So every company or every fab would have a different variable in their model file, which would model the stress effect in some way or the other. Okay.
So isn't this kind of a situation where we have a premeditated coupling effect, maybe due to many inverters running parallelly? So you would have coupling in a way, right?
Yeah. So that can be extracted in your netlist. When you will extract your layout, you can always extract that coupling. So capacitive coupling तो anyway extract हो ही जाएगी ना स्वप्न. यहाँ पे हम डिवाइस की बात कर रहे हैं कि डिवाइसेस के अंदर भी वेरिएशंस आएंगे जस्ट बिकॉज दे आर क्लोज टुगेदर नाउ.
एंड उसका रीजन काइंड ऑफ अननोन ही रहता है, मतलब
नहीं अननोन नहीं है, वी नो. मैंने आपको बताया नहीं है. So what happens is, because so you know that 2 devices are separated by what is called as silicon dioxide shallow trench implant. Any 2 active regions will be separated by a shallow trench implant. अगर हम cross sectional view देखें, suppose I make one gate here, another gate here, and I make source drain, and I make source drain. So in between these 2 devices, I actually put what is called as silicon dioxide shallow trench implant. So what is happening when we have this shallow trench implant over here? One immediate thing that you can notice is that the lattice structure is broken. Are you able to see this? The lattice structure is broken. And this STI will have different compressive behavior. Okay, so to deposit the STI, you will heat the wafer, and you will then pour silicon dioxide into it. When the silicon dioxide cools down, it will lead to a different kind of thermal compression or expansion, because it is a different material than silicon. So because it has a different kind of thermal expansion coefficient, what this means is that a device like this would see more or less stress depending on how much silicon dioxide is put there.
Okay.
So if I have a very thin silicon dioxide over here, then because the material was less, the expansion or contraction happened was less, so less stress happened. But when it was more stress happened. So sparse devices or sparse active will have a different kind of stress than dense active regions.
So these are all like deterministic and like we know, right? So they are,
they are modeled.
They are systematic variation, right?
Yeah, these are systematic variation. अभी हम systematic ही देख रहे हैं. We're starting with systematic variations.
सर
ठीक है?
ये STI वाला पार्ट लाइक विच वी इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन द सिलिकॉन SiO2 को हमने इंट्रोड्यूस किया, तो सर ये तो हमने अपने फैब्रिकेशन ट्रीटमेंट के पहले ही कर दिया। मतलब मेरे पास में जब वेफर था तो मैंने उसमें SiO2 को पहले मतलब
No. Who said this? Actually, what you do is, after the source and active are formed, STI is a subsequent step. और कर भी दिया, चलो हाँ चलो तुम उससे भी कंटिन्यू करो, मैंने पहले भी कर दिया तो क्या होगा?
तो सर हमने अगर इसे पहले कर दिया तो फिर बाद में भी तो जब फैब्रिकेशन के ट्रीटमेंट्स होते हैं तो उसमें हार्ड बेकिंग और सॉफ्ट बेकिंग वाला पार्ट होता है, तो उससे भी इसमें इम्पैक्ट आएगा।
हाँ, मतलब इतनी बार वेफर हीट होता है और कूल होता है कि every time some additional thermal stress can come. The more the material, more the stress. The less the material, less the stress.
तो सर जब मटेरियल कम होगा तो ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट होना चाहिए ना इन कंपैरिजन टू, मतलब
क्यों?
मैं कह रहा हूँ कि जब आपने शैलो बनाया
Okay,
तो ज़्यादा
let us
इम्पैक्ट
look at
होना चाहिए।
shallow नहीं, shallow की बात नहीं हो रही, इस width की बात हो रही है।
सर
अगर
ये
हाँ, अगर सपोज मेरा जो मटेरियल है वो 10 माइक्रॉन्स का है, ठीक है, एंड एक्सपेंशन की वजह से वो 10 माइक्रॉन्स जो है मतलब 10% बढ़ता है लेटर से, तो ये होगा 11 माइक्रॉन्स। लेकिन अगर यही मटेरियल 1 माइक्रॉन था तो ये होगा 1.1 माइक्रॉन्स। ठीक है, तो 10 माइक्रॉन स्पेसिंग बिटवीन टू एक्टिव्स और 1 माइक्रॉन स्पेसिंग बिटवीन टू एक्टिव्स,
सर 10 माइक्रोन वाली
है ना? तो अब 10 माइक्रॉन वाली जो स्पेसिंग है उसके अंदर 1 माइक्रॉन का एक्स्ट्रा स्ट्रेस आ रहा है जो कि एक ही डिवाइस को अब झेलना है, which is placed far away. Whereas when the spacing between two devices was less, the stress was only 0.1. So the impact is lesser. क्योंकि थर्मल एक्सपेंशन और कॉन्ट्रैक्शन का स्ट्रेस है।
ओके सर।
ठीक है, सो इट इज नॉट दैट हमें पता नहीं है क्यों आ रहा है, वी वेरी वेल अंडरस्टैंड द रीजन ऑफ व्हाई दिस वेरिएशन इज कमिंग एंड देयरफॉर वी आर एबल टू मॉडल इट एक्चुअली। I may not tell about all these things to you because they are more a part of fabrication course, but yeah, we as designers should know and can know. आप गूगल करोगे तो भी आपको एनुअल प्रॉक्सिमिटी इफेक्ट के ऊपर यू विल गेट ह्यूज नंबर ऑफ प्रेजेंटेशंस। ठीक है, सो दैट इज द एक्सपेक्टेशन कि आप वो सब ढूंढ सकते हो और आप इंडिपेंडेंटली भी वो कर सकते हो if you want to understand these topics more. So same thing we discussed about wires, where I said that if you have a very wide wire, what happens? There is dishing happening. For a thinner wire, the dishing may not be as much. However, if the wires are spaced far apart, what happens? The entire depth, so the entire depth degrades. Therefore, resistivity increases. So what do? To avoid such dishing and dishing wale things, you do slotting. You make slots inside the big metals so that they act as pillars and do not let the wire to collapse. And at other places, you put dummy fills. So these blue ones are dummy fills, so that these wires, which are far away from other wires, do not actually get eroded. जब आप एक्चुअल में फैब्रिकेट करोगे, there will be metals over here also, which will not be connected to anything, but they are put only so that these encircled wires do not degrade to a higher resistance wire or a higher resistance connection. Is this part okay?
So the metal slot and the dishing part is okay. I mean, I was not able to understand कि अगर दो वायर बहुत दूर प्लेस हैं तो उससे इशू क्या आ रहा है हमारे को?
Okay, so you understand that there is a different softness of metal and different softness of silicon dioxide.
Okay.
So if the wires are spread far away, what happens? Your system interacts with it is chemomechanical planarization, है ना? So there are chemicals also and there is mechanical force also. So that chemical will interact with silicon dioxide, erode that silicon dioxide, and then when the mechanical field comes, it will kind of reduce the height of the metals that are formed there. Because there was lots of silicon dioxide and a lot of it got eroded.
Achha, so wider the wire, like farther the wires were, more there was silicon dioxide between them, more the erosion would happen.
So it is not about farther, it is about aloof.
Okay.
It is about aloof.
Okay.
If there were more wires, if there was some metal somewhere, then there is some copper, it will reduce the rate of reaction. Silicon dioxide would not erode.
Okay.
You see, otherwise the rate of erosion of silicon dioxide will be very, very high. And then you will suffer from higher resistivity of the metals. So to prevent this, what do? You make dummy fills. So all of you are doing VDF, I think. So over there will be a process step where they will say tiles are inserted. That is essentially what this dummy fill is about, tiling. There is also a layer that they may talk about, which is called no tile layer. That wherever I put no tile layer, no dummy fill should be inserted. I know that there is a density variation over here, but I do not want you to insert anything so that my capacitances are under my control. See, when you insert a dummy fill, what happens? Dummy fills will be inserted only at the time of fabrication. So when you extracted your netlist in the first go, what happened? You had assumed that there is this kind of spacing between two wires. This kind of spacing between two wires, and therefore the capacitance that you assigned to this particular wire was less. But in reality, on silicon, a dummy fill got inserted. So now the spacing has reduced and this wire has more capacitance than what you had designed it for. Are you able to see this? Hello?
सर ये जो अभी लास्ट वाला पॉइंट आपने बोला वो सर मिस हो गया.
Okay. So as a designer, you verify your circuits by extracting the circuits and doing a simulation.
Yes, sir.
And verifying that everything, all the capacitances are well taken care of, and even despite those capacitances, your delays are in control and everything.
Yes.
So what you need is that when you extract and when you verify your netlist, the capacitance value should be final. Otherwise, all your verification is useless.
Yes,
is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now you are a memory designer. You designed a memory cell, and you verified that this memory cell is working fine. Or you designed a write driver, you designed a row decoder, whatever. You designed some stuff and you extracted it and you said it is working fine. But when it went to the fab said, oh, there are these wires which are so far apart, let me put dummy metals there. So it put dummy metals there. And now the capacitance changes because there is a dummy metal now. There is a metal there. And whatever verification you had done, that is now defunct. That is no longer valid. है ना? ऐसा हो सकता है ना? This can happen.
Yes, sir.
So for such hard macros, you put a set of layers called no tile or no fill, something like that. Every fab will call it differently. What the function of this layer is that in this region, no dummy fills will be inserted. So that whatever you had verified, that verification is valid. However, you as a designer should ensure that, now what this means is that you as a designer should ensure that no region in your design should actually be very sparse. Because dummy fills will not be inserted. If you leave some sparsity in your design, then what happens? erosion will happen and resistance of your metals would increase. Again, your verification will go defunct. Are you with me? Is this point clear?
Yes sir. Means floor placement, floor planning के समय ही हमको ये dummy cells को मतलब हमें ऐसा ensure करना है कि ज़्यादा space ना हो.
It is not at the stage of placement and floor planning. It is after everything else has been done. Routing has been done. Everything is done. Then you do this. Dummy are filled only after routing has been completed. अगर आपने dummy पहले डाल दिया तो routing का आप resource ही नहीं छोड़ोगे. You've eaten up the resource for routing then. Dummies are inserted बिल्कुल towards the very fag end. Okay.
सर लेकिन अगर हम डिजाइनिंग फेज में है तो हम ये भी तो कर सकते हैं कि अपने राउटिंग को चेंज कर लें जिससे कि ऐसा
कर लो
तो
मैं कह रहा हूँ if you are designing a macro you should place your wires and you should route such that there is no sparsity. मैंने यही तो कहा अभी. Because if you leave sparsity and you put no fill layer, then what happens? Then your wires become resistive. And again your verification would go haywire. यही तो बात करी थी ना मैंने अभी.
Yes sir.
So instead of putting dummy cells, why not put extra wires between the sparse wires? I mean, two connected wires, extra wires which are not affecting the functionality or redundant wires.
Because you do not know whether those wires are needed or not. And if you really put those extra wires, you are actually reducing the routing resources. At a chip level, on a SOC level, when you're designing a SOC, you want all the available resources to be made available to you for routing. Now, if the library designer puts those extra wires, where are the routing resources then? We don't want that also, na?
Okay.
Okay. आगे बढ़े?
So these dummy cells are finally just metal pads, right?
So dummy cells are metal cells, yes, metal types.
Okay.
Okay. So now we come to what is called as random variations. So we did this experiment in DVD. Let us do this again. You consider a dopant density of 10 raised to power, let us say 19 in the channel region. You consider the channel region to be 20 nanometers wide, 1 micron in width. So 1 micron by 20 nanometers by, let us say, another 20 nanometers or 30 nanometers in depth. What is the volume we are talking about? 1 micron into 20 nanometers into another 20 nanometers, or 50 nanometers. It will make it easy for you. What is the dimension we are talking about then? What is the volume of this?
Ten to the power minus 20 cubic meter. Cubic.
10
cubic nanometer.
Cubic nanometer minus 20.
Cubic meter. Sorry. 10 to the power minus 20 cubic meter.
Okay. And now I am talking about dopant density of 10 raised to the power 19 per centimeter cube. How many dopants are we talking about then in this region? How many dopants are we talking about? Calculate, bhai. Are you able to visualize what I'm talking about? I'm talking about this region in which your channel exists. Are you able to visualize this? Here is drain, here is source. You would have gate up there and so on. But your channel is formed in this region. And I'm asking you to find the volume of this cuboid, which you found to be 10 raised to power minus 20. Minus 20 कैसे आया? आ गया होगा.
21.
Minus 21 cubic meters. And then I said that the dopant density is 10 raised to power 19 per centimeter cube. Now, how many dopants exist in this cuboid?
Sir, it would lead to approximately 10,000 carriers.
10,000 dopants. Okay. Now let us say that so 10,000 is still huge. I do not want that kind of a number. I want to give you a realistic number. 10,000 doesn't exist. In reality, 10 raised to power 19 नहीं होगा doping. 10 raised to power 19 doping तो source drain का होगा. इधर का doping जो होगा that would be 10 raised to power, let us say 17 or 16. 16 or 17. So कितना dopants रह जाएगा? How many dopants should we have?
100.
Okay. So because
16 there would be
this region, so this region is where the channel exists, and this region is not heavily doped. Okay. So this has the base substrate doping in it, and that would be something like 10 raised to power 17 or 18, something like that. And as soon as you do that, the number of dopants that you see in a 1 micron device is just about 100 to 1000 dopants. Now, what is the size of devices that you are going to use? In an advanced technology, the length would be as low as 7 FinFET पे अगर आप जाते हैं, तो one of the dimensions would reduce to 7 nanometers, let us say 10 nanometers. The other dimension would reduce to, just to ensure that the body effect does not, or the body factor does not come into picture. The other dimension will reduce to something like 4 or 5 nanometers. And the width of devices, you no longer will keep 1 micron because you are in a shrink technology. You will reduce the width of the devices to something like 200 nanometers, 500 nanometers. So the number of dopants that you will be handling will be of the order of 10 to 20 dopants only. Okay? Are you able to get the essence that we are talking about a fixed number of few dopants there in the channel region, which are going to define the VT of your device? The number of dopants in that region essentially define what kind of electric field exists, and therefore how much more electric field is required to make the inversion layer. Is it not?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yes, sir.
So if the number of dopants change, your VT of the device will change.
Yes, sir.
So now, if we were in an older technology, we would have thousands of dopants there. But as we come to an advanced technology, we're talking about only 10, 20, 50 dopants in that entire region. Now let us say उस 20 dopants की जगह आपके दो अगर आप डोपिंग कर रहे हो, आपके 2 boron atoms और आ गए in the lattice. What happens?
VT will like significantly change by 10-20%.
10% VT change. ऐसे ही. Just two atoms, 2 extra atoms of boron came. Can it happen? You're talking about billions of devices to be manufactured. Can it happen that in a few devices, just 2 dopant atoms extra can come? Can it happen? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So it is not just about the number of dopants that can come. Let us say, let me see what the next slide is. Okay, so the number of dopants के ऊपर he it is saying that see this kind of variations will happen in the cell ratio. Okay, the static noise margin would change like this because your cell ratio changed and your dopants mismatch happens. Okay, इससे पहले दिखाना चाह रहा हूं मैं. So let us say आपके number of dopants दो adjacent devices में same भी हैं. There are just two dopants that we are talking about, but in one device these two dopants are placed like this, and in the other device these two dopants are placed like this. Do you think both the devices will have same VT?
No, sir.
So it is not just about number of dopants, it is also about placement of dopants. Can you deterministically put dopants in exactly the same location in every transistor that you are manufacturing? Is there a way to do that? Hello?
No, sir.
So what that means is there are bound to be variations. These dopant fluctuations result in variations in threshold voltage of devices and correspondingly characteristics of your circuits. We've already run Monte Carlo in DVD, and we know that when we run Monte Carlo, what happens? Delay changes. There is a Gaussian distribution around the delay. In this course, almost all of you will run Monte Carlo in your projects, where you will look at what kind of variations is happening on right margin, on static noise margin, on sense amplifier offset, and so on. And this is very, very important because these fluctuations lead to two devices which you had assumed to be exactly the same behave very differently. It will happen, na? Two devices exactly the same. One had two dopants in these positions, the other had two dopants in the other two positions. They will behave very, very differently, as if they were completely alien devices.
So how? Hello?
Yeah.
मतलब केवल डोपेंट से ही नहीं हुआ सर, फिर तो फैब्रिकेशन की जो पूरी एंटायर चेन है उसमें हम जो हाई प्लाज्मा से जो बम्बार्डिंग करते हैं, आयन इम्प्लांटेशन करते हैं, तो सर वो तो फिर हर एक स्टेप में हमें कहीं ना कुछ वेरिएशन और मिसमैच मिलेगा.
Yes. I'm so happy that you are able to visualize it like that. Every process that you do on silicon leads to some additional mismatch between two adjacent matched devices. Because dopants is just one thing. Look at this interface roughness. The gate oxide that you build. Just look at this example. It says 2.2 nanometers, 2.6 nanometers, 2.4 nanometers. Same device के अंदर ही gate thickness vary हो रही है. What does that mean? What this means is that for one particular MOSFET, if gate is thicker here and thinner here, it will behave differently from another MOSFET, and let us say contacts were here. It will behave differently from another MOSFET where gate was thicker here and thinner here. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Huh? So this is interface roughness or gate oxide thickness variations. Similarly, there is something called line edge roughness. So what happens when you are fabricating a polysilicon, let us say, what do? You first make a full sheet of polysilicon on the entire wafer, and then where you do not need polysilicon, you etch those parts out. Okay? So that is how you make polysilicon. Now, can you really etch the part out in a very systematic geometrical straight line? Can it happen?
No, sir. वो isotropic and anisotropic वाला issue.
Exactly. So what happens is that आपका जो आपने polysilicon बनाया, जो आपने deposit करा, तो polysilicon means multiple crystals of silicon. That is why it is called polysilicon, है ना? So there were these multiple crystals that were there, and when you started to etch, what happens? Some of the crystals will completely go. So this crystal will go, let us say. Hello, I want some crystals to go, they are not going. So this crystals will go, and now now the line edge will look like something like this. You're able to see the thick line? Now let us say the contact was here. It means that the spacing from contact to poly has increased a bit, and the poly width would have possibly reduced. Let us say this was the other side. Let us say this was what the poly was finally formed, and these were also eroded or taken away. Hello. So if the contact is here, it will see some kind of length, but if the contact was here, it would see a different kind of length. Are you with me? So etching processes will also lead to two adjacent devices, exactly symmetrical devices, behaving very differently. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
So line edge roughness is another reason why mismatch happens. And
sir?
Yes.
So all these variations could not be modeled, right? Like we can't, like they are indeterministic, right?
Yeah. How can you model them? That is why they are called random variations. You can only model them as Monte Carlo. Okay, VT will change, and this is the kind of VT variation we are observing on silicon. So we will allow you to run a statistical simulation which gives similar VT variation on your devices.
Okay,
that's all you can do.
So like proximity effect was the one deterministic variation which we looked at. I mean,
proximity effect, we looked at stress effects, we looked at so as you go in advanced technologies, many effects are getting modeled. Okay, stress effects are there. Then जो wires की thickness की या spacing का जो effect है, that is called isolated line retargeting. That is also modeled in the extraction tools. So many effects which are systematic are getting modeled. Almost all of them are modeled. New systematic effects appear as new materials are used. New systematic effects appear as soon as we go to new geometries, finer geometries, more advanced technologies. But technology teams are working really at a very high pace to model them also. Okay. But random variations you cannot model. You can only model them as, say, a mix of VT variations, mobility variations, length variations, width variations. In सबके mix से आप variations को model कर लेते हो, but you cannot really model line edge roughness कि भाई this device will behave like this and this will behave like this. No, you just run Monte Carlo simulation then and do it. Okay. आगे बढ़े.
Sir, after reviewing these variations in that detail, sir, these variations would be the main, I think that these variations would be the main constraint on the device scaling, that like the channel and scaling, as we are going to the later technology nodes, then these effects would be more prominent there.
Yes, look at this. Look at this, that delta TOX remained constant. TOX reduced from 22 nanometers, 22 angstroms to 12 angstroms. The variation has increased from 5% to 8%. Delta L has remained constant, but length has changed from 90 nanometers to 45 nanometers. Length variations are 11% now. So they have much more impact. And therefore, you cannot really go to very, very small lengths. To handle random dopant fluctuations effect, today you have fully depleted substrates. So you have FD-SOI technologies and FinFET technologies, both of which have depleted substrates. Where जो भी हमने पहले dopant fluctuations की बात करी, they are not even coming into picture. Dopant है ही नहीं, आपने डाला ही नहीं dopant. The area is depleted. आपने doping करी नहीं extra वहां पे. ठीक है? So that is where technology is also evolving so that we are able to scale. But there are significant limitations to scaling because of mismatch and controlling that mismatch. Okay? So how are these things modeled or taken care of? See, things like, what are the causes of dopant profile variations? Implant, anneal, diffusion, litho, etching, so many things. How are they modeled? Some effects are modeled. For example, well proximity effects are modeled. Narrow width and large width effects are modeled. Distance or stress effects are modeled. Spacing between diffusion edges are modeled. So some effects are modeled systematically because they are systematic. Some effects cannot even be modeled at all. And then they are put into as variations, random variations. Okay, and just look at so many things that lead to variation in threshold voltage of a device. Are you able to see this? So I will give you the full presentation. So this is 71st slide in their presentation. मैंने तो खाली आपको 5 slides दिखाई हैं. This was 64th slide in their presentation. So I will give you the full tutorial. You can study it at much more detail and understand mismatch in much more detail. But what I want to tell you is that mismatch is something which is very, very important and relevant for SRAM devices to take care of. Okay, and that is mismatch. In addition to this, there are other variations that will happen on dies, which are things like supply voltage fluctuations, temperature variations across the die, jitter in clock, IR drop, junction temperature variations across the die, and so on. So what does this mean? To make a robust SRAM, you have to somehow make it robust and stable even in the presence of all these variations. So when I talk to you about a bit cell design project, how much sigma do you need to qualify?
6 sigma.
Is 6 sigma sufficient? 6 sigma at what voltage is also equally important, is it not? Because there will be voltage fluctuations also. 6 sigma across all temperature range. So you cannot simply say 6 sigma because someone will qualify 6 sigma at typical temperature, typical lot, and typical voltage. But that cell is not going to function at all.
So you have to qualify 6 sigma at the worst possible operating.
At the worst case operating point.
Yes.
So in the first presentation that you will do for the projects, you should be able to tell what is the verification plan for your project. That thought should go even before designing part. Are you able to see this? Hello?
Sir, how can we consider all these variations collectively when I am saying I'll qualify 6 sigma for the worst case? Like in the worst case, we have in the assignment we did the PVT, so we told that worst case would be this. And but here the variations are like so many of variations, and how are we?
See, so when we talk about an SRAM cell, for that matter, what is happening? You know that both the PMOSes share the same VDD rail. So both the PMOSes will have the same VDD. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
So I do not expect the strength of two PMOSes to be different because of VDD. But I can expect the VDD to be lower than what my target VDD was. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
So that is where, when you say that my worst case PVT is low voltage, high temperature, and this, that is good enough for your analysis. You do not need to put one device, one PMOS at 20 millivolts higher and the other at 20 millivolts lower. That will not happen. Physically, it will not happen. No? There is a metal, just they are hardly 0.2 microns, 0.3 microns away. How can there be such high difference? Okay, there could be because of contacts, but even then, there is not much current flowing through them. So when even if the contacts are resistive, because the current is less, the variation in VDD will be different, will not be much significant. So you do not really need, so these are all sources of variations, but not everything will be relevant for you in your design. You have to therefore apply your intelligence in choosing which variations to account for in your verification plan. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes. So, sir, when I am replicating my design for many number of times, then only most of the variations are going to appear.
Yes. So we will just now, अब तो नहीं बात कर पाएंगे, but हम अगली class में we will talk about some things like replica path, and we know what replica path is, but how it is designed we will talk about in a little more detail in the next class. So that is where you will want to consider these variations also. But in a memory cell scale, you don't need to. In a row decoder scale, you will probably need to. Okay?
Yes.
So how are these modeled? As we say, some things are actually modeled in the spice card that you have. For example, अगर आपको पता है कि voltage lower हो सकती है, so you can reduce the voltage and you can see the change in delay that can happen. है ना? So some things are modeled in the static spice card. Other things are modeled as variations, and when you run Monte Carlo simulations, you are able to model them also. Simulate them also. Okay? So in a way, if I want to summarize what we just discussed, variations can either be random or systematic. Okay, systematic variations are reduced by using what we call as DFM, which is called as design for manufacturability. What does DFM mean? DFM means that even though my DRC says that a contact should be enclosed by just 0.02 microns of active, I leave 0.03 just to be safe, just to be more manufacturable. When do I do that? When leaving 0.03 would also not lead to any area loss. See, all of you have made some layouts, है ना? So you know that there are places जहाँ पे आप अगर devices को थोड़ा सा बड़ा या छोटा भी कर दोगे, तो there is no area loss, because anyways there are other rules which are limiting the area, है ना? So DFM means places where you can relax the rules without any area loss. Do that. It is a very, very important step in full custom layout design. You make DRC clean layouts, and then you do the next step of DFM clean. So there are two kind of decks that you will finally run your layout on. One is a DRC deck, that there are no DRC errors. Second deck is a DFM deck, which says that if there was space to relax some rules, why have you not relaxed? Please relax here. Okay. Then some effects like well proximity effects, CMP, all those effects are systematic variations which are modeled inside the spice cards. Random variations like dopant fluctuations, gate oxide variations, edge roughness, and all those, they are modeled as threshold variations in your devices, which can be kind of simulated during Monte Carlo simulations. Okay, and then any variations which could happen because of chip operation are modeled in the PVTs at which you will simulate your and verify your circuit. Is that okay? Yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, we looked at that 60 SRAM cell. So उसमें जो लैच होते थे मेरे, जिसमें हम 2 PMOSes में पुल अप वाले में VDD देते थे, तो सर इट इज़ पॉसिबल कि जो हमने मतलब मेरी जो मेटल की जो रेल दौड़ रही है, जो VDD सप्लाई कर रही है मेरे PMOS के सोर्स या ड्रेन में सोर्स में, तो सर दोनों PMOSes में डिफरेंट VDD भी हो सकता है, सो दिस कैन आल्सो बी अ वेरिएशन.
मैंने वही तो अभी कहा ना, that will not happen because this distance is very less, 0.2 micron, 0.3 micron. And those metals are in a very systematic density. There is a VDD, there is a bit line, there is a VDD, there is a bit line. There are so many metal to lines in that proximity. So in the memory cell, all these wires are actually are not very resistive. Moreover, what kind of current will the PMOS consume? Only in a right cycle it will consume some current. That too just a small capacitor it has to charge. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
So don't complex your life by putting such variations which will not exist physically. Okay, you want to do it, but it's a useless verification. It is leaving extra margins unnecessarily. But yes, your VDD, your voltage regulator is somewhere and your memory is somewhere else. In that case, from this voltage source to the memory, the IR drop can happen. So even though you expected the voltage to be 1.1 volt, what will reach to your memory cell could be 1.05 only. 50 millivolts drop has happened in the way. That you should model. But that 50 millivolt lower is for both the PMOSes, not for one PMOS, not for the other PMOS. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Same thing you may think about temperature also. There are two different junctions. They could be at different temperatures. But there have been sufficient studies done on silicon to prove that temperature doesn't change. Junction temperature doesn't change for hundreds of microns. Even after 100 of a micron, 1 degree, 2 degrees C temperature change would happen. So you're not really bothered. But when do you get bothered? When you have a huge chip, 300 millimeter square chip, so more than 10 millimeter, 15 millimeter on each side, and you have a clock generator over here and you have a memory over here. Then it can happen that the temperature over here is 10 degrees higher or lower than the memory over here, and that could lead to some jitter or some things for this memory in comparison to that. So temperature variations also will not matter at your 1-bit cell or 1 sense amplifier simulation level. Okay. IR drop variations can bother you at the sense amplifier level though. Why? Because sense amplifier does consume sufficient amount of power. So when a sense amplifier is operating, power gets consumed. There can be IR drop variations due to that power consumption in a sense amplifier, not in a memory cell. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So we will close the session here, Abhi. We will start with, what kind of statistics are used in VLSI and specifically for memories, so that we are able to model all these variations and verify our circuits and our designs in a robust manner. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
सर जस्ट फॉर क्यूरियोसिटी सर, जैसे अभी हम एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी की तरफ मूव कर रहे हैं, तो अभी जो सेल्स जो बनते हैं, जो मेमोरी सेल्स बनते हैं, तो उनके लिए बेसिकली मॉसफेट्स यूज होते हैं या फिर अभी जैसे फिनफेट टेक्नोलॉजी है, FDSOI है, बिकॉज दीज वेरिएशन विल स्टिल बी देयर अगर हम और ज्यादा.
FinFETs and FDSOI are both MOSFETs only.
Yes, sir.
They are metal oxide semiconductor devices only. It is just that they are and their dimensions have changed. They are now in 3D and not 2D, and
Yes.
so on. But they are MOSFETs only.
Yes, sir. Basic structure is MOSFET only, but
Yeah.
we have that oxide layer and that depleted channel
Yeah,
available.
the channel is depleted so that the random dopant fluctuations don't bother you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
sir. Yes.
I think no one has gone to bulk CMOS even at 20 nanometers. Even at 20 nanometer, either there is FD-SOI or FinFETs. Bulk CMOS is like TSMC did go, but it did not make it a very high production technology. People they quickly moved to FinFETs in 16 FinFET after that. 20 nanometer, they just came and they left because they realized they cannot really have production. And if they try to make it production now, then they will miss the bus. They will lose the technology edge. So TSMC does not have many reticles going on 2022 because they had bulk CMOS process there. Everyone else already moved to either FD-SOI or FinFET by then.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Sir, do we have a quiz tomorrow?
Yes, I told that already, no?
I'm just confirming it.
Yeah, we have a quiz tomorrow.
So what would be the syllabus up to last lecture?
Up till last lecture, not today's lecture.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So I have a question from the concept of right driver. Hello.
Yeah.
So
I'm stopping the recording.
Yeah.
Please ask.
No. So it was related to the last lecture which we were discussing on right driver, last lecture. So there was a comment on the slide which said I was also thinking what if we use instead of having an NMOS stack of maybe the right enable signal and the data signal, why don't we use a PMOS stack in a way? Because I know that area would be a constraint over there, small significance would be there, but PMOS से तो आपका वन ज़्यादा जल्दी डिस्चार्ज होगा बिट लाइन का, ग्राउंड पे आपको
नहीं, आपको जीरो लाना है ना, you have to transfer zero on the bit line.
Yeah. So you have I'm saying that if you have a PMOS stack on the left side as well as on the right side, bit line पर भी लगा दो और bit line bar पर भी लगा दो.
Okay.
So why would that be a bad option?
Yeah, it's always about what do you gain and what do you lose. You lose area and what do you gain and how much do you gain in the other dimension. That is what you need to be careful about. Hai? So you can do that, but why waste area? Area is diamond. Okay.